The Local Government Act Number 2 of 2019 provides for, among other things, democratic participation in and control of decisions by the people at the local level. Today, our conversation is with the Ward Councillor for Nansanzu Ward in Livingstone, Mr. Sakubiwa Nyambe. What is the population of your ward?
The population is about 3,000.
Any special landmarks in your ward?
We've got schools in the ward, which is Linda High School is in the ward. There's Nansanzu Basic School, which is also in Nansanzu Ward, Linda East. Then we've got a community school, 2 community schools in fact. The newly built Linda Community School and the old Linda Community School. Plus the school which was done by Xavier from German, which is at Farm for the Disabled in Linda.
Okay.
Yes.
When in the tourism capital, any touristic attraction in your ward?
No, there isn't a tourism attraction, apart from maybe once in a while there was that ceremony that for the Luvales, what they call Mkanda. There was a camp at one time there, which attracted a bit of tourists.
Any clinic or health facility in your ward?
There is Linda Health Center, which also has a clinic which was being done by African Impact, and unfortunately the sponsors in fact did not complete the project, but they handed it over to government to complete, but it's not yet complete. By then the Minister of Health, Chitaru Chirufya, had also visited the school, the hospital, which is earmarked to be a mini district hospital, in fact.
Okay.
Yes.
Any markets?
There is Linda Market. We have a market there.
For the people in the ward, what's their main source of income?
Main source of income. Those people, most of them, it's business, because most of the houses you go through, you find there are those tuntembas. Others, most of them will be at the market, selling from the market, but their main source of income is just business.
How many people are in the Ward Development Committee?
There are 13.
Including yourself?
Yes.
On average?
But now most of them are not active yet. The active ones are just about 8.
On average, would you be able to tell us the annual budget in your ward from the time you became councillor?
Like the funding I've got so far.
Mm-hmm.
The first funding I got was 80,000. That was in 2017. Then 2018 I got 120, making it 200. Then 2019 I got 70. So far, making it 270,000 kwacha.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Was 2016 the first time you ran for office as councillor?
Yes, it was my first time.
And what are some of your memories as a child?
Your
aspirations as you were growing up?
Okay. I remember my mother. My mother was also a councillor for the very ward. And then that was the period from 2001. So I got so inspired that one day I'll also be, I think, a councillor, because it was something nice. You'd see almost every week after their meetings, she'll be brought home in the mayoral vehicle, written L1. The aide to the mayor would open the door for her. She comes out, they salute. So it was something which really inspired me. And then
so you liked the respect and the privileges she was enjoying. Okay. Mm-hmm. But what really inspired you to stand as councillor?
I looked at the ward. I grew up in that ward. I was born in that ward. I grew up from there. I basically knew the challenges that the ward faced, and I saw myself to be able to at least start tackling those problems, since I'm in that ward. When I used to go to school, I would pass through homes that have got running sewer blockages. You'd find the roads are muddy, So it's an experience that I had physically, and like just seeing it from afar.
In your own words, what would you say is the role of a councillor?
The role of a councillor is to bring local governance now closer to the people in the ward. Bring better services to the people in the ward, easily accessible, unlike people coming now and then to this center here, the civic center, to come and air out their problems, but I would get the problems from there, bring them here and see how we tackle them.
Okay. Are there any promises you made when you were campaigning in 2016 that you have actually fulfilled?
I made promises. I promised the people to start working on the sewer lines, of which that was the first project I did in 2017 from the first ward fund I got. Then I also promised people to start working on the roads, graveling them, though I did not say I'll take bituminous roads there, because I knew as a councillor it's way beyond my limit, unless through the mayor and the MP we lobby to central government for such. Then I also promised to do a modern market shelter, of which it's under construction now. Then I haven't yet done. I promised to do a police post, but I haven't yet started that project.
Okay. So in choosing those are the promises that you made. Do you think those are also what people really wanted in Nansanzu Ward?
Yes.
How are you sure that it's what they
From
wanted?
the community meetings that I have with the WDCs and the general public in the ward, we were able to list down the problems that really affect the ward. So like the ones I've mentioned, the roads, the sewer problems, security in the ward, the market, they needed the market to be expanded. That's how the projects were listed, and then we are working on them one by one.
Okay. You mentioned that not everybody is active in the ward development committees. What has it been like for the communities to participate in the decision making in your ward?
Well, I say most of the members, some of the members are not active in the committee. I think it's perceived to be a political move. You find those that are not in my party.
The UPND?
Yes, those that are not in the UPND would prefer to stay away, because no, he's UPND, so what is he going to bring for us when he's UPND? So even the response to the problems of the community, unless I really go on the ground, other than what I get from the Ward Development Committee, I also have to go physically on the ground, visit those people I feel, and I think they're also influential in trying to bringing the life of the ward to a higher level. I also get views from them and then add up to what the committee also says.
A lot of times the complaints by people that voted is that they don't see much of their elected officials, councillors included. So when you say you sat as a ward development committee or as a people in Nansanzu to make the decisions, do people participate enough to be counted as having been party to the decisions that are made?
I wouldn't say 100%. From out of 100, I would say 40%. Look at the population that is in Linda. If I am to say I've got a better attendance from the community during a community meeting, the best attendance I've got was 98 from the total population. Others would say, no, we don't get the announcements when you announce that you have a meeting. Others would say, time you have a meeting, we're at work. But generally, it's the same people over and over who would come to attend.
What do you think that, you've mentioned that others say they don't get the announcements that there'll be a meeting. But when it's time for campaigns, there's bigger populations. So as one who is in charge of bringing local government to the communities as close as possible, what is it that you may probably say is the big issue then?
as compared to when I am campaigning.
Yeah,
I'll
and not just to
bring
pick on you
masses.
as a councillor, but we see bigger crowds at campaign periods. But if people are supposed to make other decisions other than choosing who to vote for, why is there?
The reason basically, I think, could be simple. When it's a political rally, people would expect, at the end of the rally, would get maybe T-shirts, or get some handouts, or get food, or get this and that, other than compared to a community meeting where they know they're just coming to give their input. In the end, they are not getting money from that meeting.
There's no incentive.
No.
So having unblocked sewers, having better roads, and everything else that a councillor should do or can do is not motivating enough for them to come to those meetings.
That's the challenge I find in my ward, because members of the ward, most of them would really not want to see the ward be a better place. They would not come, councillor, this is what we think should be done, this is how we should work together, but they spend most of the times criticizing me. You'll find there's a time we had machinery in the neighboring ward. Then in my ward, the machinery was not there. They posted on my Facebook page, no, this young man is not working. In fact, come 2021, we are voting him out. The neighboring ward is working, him is not working. That period, they forgot that a month earlier on, the machines were in the ward. Because we run on a schedule, we only have limited machinery. So we cannot split the machinery to work in all the wards at the same time. You find this week, the machinery is in this ward, just like that. But immediately it leaves your ward and goes to work on another ward. So, no, he's not working. It's like they just want to see the machinery in the ward every day.
Do you think people understand the role of a councillor enough?
No.
Whose role is
They
it,
don't.
or would it be to explain that? What are some of the misconceptions that you've heard about the role of a councillor?
The role of a councillor is someone who should be able to provide food when there is a funeral. The councillor should provide transport when there's a funeral. Councillor should provide coffin to the bereaved family. A councillor should be able to pay school fees.
That's what the public understands.
That's what the public
thinks.
Yes. A councillor should be able to buy school shoes for those that don't have school shoes. But when you explain to them, when you see me coming to a funeral, maybe I come with a bag of milling. It's not that I'm given that allowance at council to say this is a funeral allowance. Each time you have a funeral, you're supposed to spend this money on funerals. It just comes from my own pocket, just to try and be with those people who are mourning. But people really don't understand that my role is just to hear their cries, bring development to the ward, other than buying food in households.
Okay. And of course you had your campaign promises and you work with the Ward Development Committee and to a certain extent with the community members. How do your plans or aspirations marry with those of the mayor and the MP?
Okay, when we're doing our campaigns, I would say the mayor had his own promises, I had my own promises, the MP also had his own promises. But we've been able to work together with the mayor and the MP. For instance, the MP will bring CDF to the constituency. When it comes to the constituency, we receive it as a local authority. The committee, the CDF committee will sit, plan, deserving projects and wards would receive. But then for the CDF part, it's quite unfortunate for me, specifically Nansanzu Ward. From the time I assumed office to date, I've never benefited from CDF.
Do you regard it as a failure or because, they...
Not receiving CDF?
Yes.
It's a failure for the committee.
Okay. Which committee?
The CDF committee. Because my ward development committee has been submitting projects, but projects were not being considered.
Do you think maybe there were areas that were lacking, or maybe you were not advocating enough for that?
Advocacy was there. How the committee should also work. We've got councillors that sit on the CDF committee. The MP also is on the CDF committee. Then we've got management, some members of management who sit on that committee as well. If my application is not so clear, I'm a councillor here. That committee has the right to even call me. No, we've seen your application, but this and that is missing. Polish your application, and like brushing it off aside. You'll find the committees, the CDF committees, even funding projects that are not even known by the councillor in my ward.
How does that happen though? Because as a steward of the ward, you should know whatever development is coming to your area.
I would say the CDF committee has sidelined my role as a councillor in the ward.
So if that then happens, I'm tempted to ask, what's your relationship even with the development committee?
No, with the ward development committee, it works so well. It's fine.
So then you're not, and with your MP, what's your relationship like?
No, the MP, I see him once in a while because he's not in the ward most of the time. And like I'm with the mayor.
But does he also sit on the Constituency Development Fund committee?
Yes, he does.
I'm trying to understand how a project can be implemented in your ward without your knowledge, either of it happening or at least being involved at some level, even though it's not a ward fund per se, as a constituency fund.
Because what happens on the CDF application forms, there's a part where the councillor signs. I sign the forms, regardless which group has applied. As long as it's coming from my ward, whether it's a school in my ward, whether it's a grouping in my ward, I have to see that proposal. I have to sign to it to authenticate that this group actually is from my ward. But there are all those bypasses.
So your signature would not be on some of the projects that you see in your ward?
No.
Would those projects be implemented by people in your ward, or is people from outside the ward?
From outside the ward. They would pretend to say they are from my ward.
Have you tried to follow that up?
The unfortunate part is I got those people saying we've applied from your ward. When I came here to see which grouping had applied from my ward, it has been a bit difficult to access that information, because even when the whole allocation was done, how the document was prepared, it was just a broad thing. They would say we've empowered this group, this group, this group. Would actually don't know from which ward that group belongs to. Unless the area councillor really has that relationship with that group, the councillor would say, well, no, this group is from my ward.
Are you able to give any examples
of such a ward?
Yes,
I would give an example of Smonga.
No, I mean projects in your ward which you are certain were not by people within the ward, which you did not give a signature to.
They did not even do that project in that ward, because the people who had called me asking for my signature when I was in Lusaka, they were from my ward. They were calling to say they're from my ward, but when funding was given, there is no project from those people which is being done in the ward.
For some people, yes, they will have registered to vote and they will even vote, and then that's the end. Is it enough to just cast a vote and expect development to occur?
No. When you cast a vote, you really expect development to come, but development will not come if you just sit back and you are not making your vote work. You as a person who's cast that vote, you have to put the person you voted for into office, into task, to see to it that what your vote is intended for actually materializes, and like just sitting back to say, no, we voted him into office, him or her into office. Now let's see what he's going to do. Actually, if you don't voice out what you want to be done, I would take it, no, even as a civic leader, no, all is well. People are not
until
complaining.
election day.
People are not complaining that, no, the roads are bad, you're not doing this. People are not complaining. It's like, it's fine. They are content with what they have. But if you come closer to the elected leader to say, no, you actually want this, you actually put pressure. You also put pressure on the councillor or the mayor or the MP or the president to actually bring development more into your area.
Okay. And you are quite young. There's a big push for young people to assume decision-making positions. How has it been working as a young person?
I became a councillor when I was 29, and then it wasn't easy. Most of the people I found here, even councillors, apart from the 3 colleagues of mine who seem to be a bit younger, you look at management, all the directors you find are elderly. So it wasn't easy to really coexist with them. Even when you go to places like you want to see people, say, no, I'm the area councillor for such and such an area. They would first of all doubt, no, if you want, I can show you my ID, or I can call the mayor or call this person, so that they introduce
You did not have the typical stature.
No, because the features councillors used to have in the olden days. You know, if someone is a councillor, maybe you've got grey hair, maybe those people who've retired. Actually, I don't know, since now this person is retired now, what next? Let me just be a councillor now, since I'm old enough to look after a ward. People with grey hair, pot bellies, huge people driving expensive cars. By then, I was just driving a simple car. When you reach places, oh, I'm the councillor. No, councillors in a councillor, which a civic leader or councillor from the hospital? No, a civic leader. So it hasn't been easy for us, the young ones, to really be recognized as people who can also bring development in areas when once elected.
Are you recontesting in 2021?
I have those plans to recontest, yes, but it also comes with what the party will also say, whether they still want to carry me on, or maybe there's somebody else who would also want to try. You know, let's see how this person also.
Okay. What do you think should drive the election agenda for Livingstone, both at the ward and district level, or constituency level, since it's one of the same areas?
Well, I think we should be able to bring in a lot of younger
people,
politicians like us. Then we also try to balance it up with the other gender, the females, because even just here in Livingstone, from the 17 wards, we have 1 female councillor.
But what will that help in bringing development?
There are problems that I may know as a male politician, and there are problems that, for instance, you may know as a female politician. Other problems require actually to go beyond me being a councillor. But how do I get into those that are beyond my sex as a male? So if we had a mixed arrangement where we've got females and males, where I fail as a male councillor, I also get advice from the female councillor to help me through, and then we'll foster development that way.
Okay. And finally, in light of the ward development committees, what's the relevance of a councillor?
The ward development committees, okay, in some wards, I say it's a headache, the ward development committees. In my ward, for instance, at the beginning, it was a headache, but as days kept going, we began to harmonize, because the committee was oriented to say a councillor is just an ex-official in this committee, so he hasn't got any input that he's supposed to give into this committee. All you do as a committee, find out what the people want, then give those problems give the resolutions to the councillor. Councillor will take to council. So you find some committees would even say, what's the use of a councillor even to attend meetings? We can discuss as a committee, and then when we resolve, we just give him, this is what we want. And like him actually being in this committee.
Thank you.
Pleasure is mine.
Thank you so much. Unless you have anything else to say.
No, I just want to take this opportunity to also thank you people to come and have this interview with me. It happens once in a while. I think the last time I remember, maybe it's over a year since I sat in such an interview.
Oh.
And so I'm really grateful.
There are several radio stations. You should be utilizing them.
Access to them. Access to them is at times a challenge.
Oh. Okay.
Because when you go there, you go to a radio station, you want to talk about your area, you find people who are calling it, they're just criticizing.
Is that the challenge? But that's the opportunity, because you can't go door
Positive criticism is welcome. So, and like where people criticize, even when they see something is being done, they still criticize.
But you keep clarifying.
For instance, in the past, councillors would get what we call this ward development fund. They would get cash. Here is 30,000. Go and do projects in your ward. That used to happen. Unlike now, if 120 is ready for my projects, I would not even have access to 15 ngwe of that money. If I want to do roads, that means it's fuel. The money is paid straight to the service station. My role is just to go and see, no, we've put diesel for how much in this truck and we are working. If I want cement, I would not get cash here and go buy cement. The management here will buy that cement and deliver it.
But those are the things you should be explaining and using the
no matter how much you explain, people just continue saying.
Maybe it's not been explained.
People continue saying to the councillor Diandalama. Where councillor is, you see he's moving there, he's got a new car, that's CDF. Or he's got a new car, that's what development fund. But no matter how much you explain, there's just that notion. So no, councillors in fact have access to this money. Councillors can share this money, do whatever they want to do. And yet there are channels on which to access that money.
We will discuss that further in another. And on that note, we come to the end of today's episode of Local Pulse. Now, in many ways, Livingstone, the tourist capital of Zambia, is an ongoing revolution. The pace at which development takes place is in part determined by the City Council. As such, next week's program will be a discussion forum to talk about many issues affecting the city of Livingstone. We hope you will join us. As always, we would love to hear from you. If you have any comments or suggestions about the program, send them to localpulse@quadcommunications.org or call us on 0977 586 506. Thank you for your time.